Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. It's a Monday, Martin Luther King Day, 2023. We're experiencing a very light winter storm outside. It snows a little bit and then it's quiet. I don't know when it's supposed to stop, but I do not believe this is going to be a storm for the record books for sure. Today, as promised in an earlier video, we're actually going to bend some tubing with my new JMR rotary draw tubing bender. I have in front of me my science projects up to this point. The 1-inch die, this is 1-inch tubing, has been my problem child since I got it. Originally I could not get, and I'll show you when I talk about the 3 pins required to bend, but long story short, which you know I'm not good at, I put this in the bandsaw. I was in communication with JMR the whole time, but we were trying to solve a problem. They were wondering if this was bent when they welded it, even though they have a jig. So I sawed right down through, not all the way, and then I squeezed the kerf out of it and TIG welded it back up, and you can't tell that I did anything to it. And that allowed it to fit in my bender. Now that I've removed the cylinder, you can watch this video if you want, remounted the cylinder in a different location, and now I actually have a little backlash, a tiny bit. That'll come into play when we set the pointer. Now, my bender came with a magnetic flexible pointer, and it works very well so far on the bigger dies, but on the 1-inch with this 3-inch centerline radius, it is very, well, it doesn't work very well. So I just welded on this 1/4-inch bolt and bent up a piece of TIG rod, and that is going to be my pointer from here on in. So in the process of, my chair squeaks, I know. In the process of dealing with JMI, they've been nothing but fabulous. They noticed, before I did, well, the first one I bent, I was having trouble getting to the next hole with spring back and whatnot, so we've solved that by moving the cylinder. But the first one I bent, the tubing popped out of the die, and I didn't notice it, apparently. This bolt, this clamp goes around your tubing, and then you tighten up the bolt to grab and hold it. Well, it's popping out the other direction, which is kind of odd. So that is an ugly bend. The next one I was more careful, and it's not bad, but I was still having problems with it, wanting to get, you know, air underneath it, if you will, before you start bending it again during the process. I'm comparing that to my store-bought one I got from Applied Racing. I don't know who makes these for them. I don't know if they use a Mandrel bender. It is pretty perfect on the bend. However, it's not straight this way. At least mine sit flat on the bench. So I got that going for me. So JMI noticed this. I had sent him a few pictures and whatnot. He says, I'm going to suspect there's something wrong with your follower shoes. Let's go over some terminology. This is your die. When you buy a die set, you get the die, the follower shoe, and the clamp, because this varies for each size tubing. And that's a die set. So I actually thought they were sending me a whole die, but I went up to the mailbox Saturday, and I have a new follower shoe that I have not used yet. So we're going to learn together whether this fixes my problem or not. And we'll bend up probably the last piece of tubing I want to sacrifice making dry shaft loops. These won't go to waste because I have to, when we build my dry shaft containment device, it fits inside one of these. It's sheet metal. And then you have to fill in the bottom, so I'll be cutting out a portion of these, and I can turn them and probably make them look adequate, and if nothing else, they'll be buried underneath. And well, you know I won't use anything I don't like, so Maybe they'll end up in the scrap pile. I can still cut off this much tubing, I suppose, but they won't go to waste. They'll get used in something, so I'm going to take this piece of tubing that I've roughly marked center. Now, if you're really smart and want to figure it out, you could put this in the die and have it come out even. I cannot guarantee that's going to happen. I'm going to take a guess. So, and I can use some props I have to try to figure that out. So let's go set it up in the bender and go from there. I should add, the jury is still out on whether to lube the follower shoe. You do not lube the die, and most everybody I talk to that have been bending tubing a long time say if you use lube, you're more apt to get a wrinkle, probably in the same problem I'm having. They determine the problems in the follower shoe. It's not holding it tight enough in the die. Lube isn't going to help that. So worst case scenario, you might wear this out because it actually rubs along the tubing. This piece of tubing I have, against my better judgment, because now I'm testing two things. I lightly Scotch-Brighted it up, which I had not been doing before. And clearly the industry standard is they don't. This is not touched in any way. It still has a mill scale on it, and it is a beautiful bend. All right, let's take the new follower shoe and go set her up. All right, here we are at the bender. We'll start by putting in the die. And it wants to be, this bolt is going to face, the tubing is going to be over here. So when I put the bender on the stand that I made sure everything was lined up perfect. So this pin is butter. I'm going to go ahead and just drop that in. The die is installed. So next, you can do your balancing act. And I have this magnetic tray sitting over here, trying to come up with the best way to do something with the pins as you're taking them in and out. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the clamp on for a minute. And I actually forgot the piece of tubing, so stand by. And we're back. So I'm just going to put the tube in the clamp just to hold it still. Now when you're using a whole section of tubing, you should probably put a roller follower stand or something to hold it up. Now I've never put this together from this angle, but due to the fact there's a camera rolling, it's obvious when you're doing this which hole you're going to use, because it won't fit in any others. So now we've got the pin in the follower shoe, we have the pin in the clamp, tubing still movable if you will, and the drive pin which engages these holes here. Now this set of arms here, I hope you can see this, but this is fixed. This set of arms is going to go this way. And with my new setup, I actually, like I said, have backlash. Now when you set your pointer to 0, you need to take this backlash out. And I've already done this when I just bent it up, but it's nice now that I actually have the ability to put my pins in and out without fighting. So now I need to guess where my center is going to be. And again, that is a scientific wild ass guess, they say, right? Swag. So I'm going to stick it out of the clamp 4 inches, kind of eyeballing where that's going to be. If I end up long on one leg, well, I'm going to have to take it out. The last thing I need to do before I bend is to tighten up the bolt, the clamp bolt. It's going to hold the tubing in place. You don't want to go crazy and dent the tubing, but in this case I don't want it loose because I'm having a problem with it wanting to pop out of the die, so I gave it a pretty good snug. Now I'm going to step on the pedal, and I have to stroke all the way until the cylinder bottoms out. Then I'll relax it and pull the drive pin and we'll talk again. So here we go. relaxed. So I pulled the pin out. As soon as the cylinder relaxes, you can get this out. Once it clears the hole, I can drop it in and it's going to find its way into the next hole. Right about there. So, we didn't close all the way. We can't make the next hole. So this is where we're at. We got about 50 degrees out of the first bend. So far, I'm still tight in the die. So let's give it another one. Once again, we're at just past 90 degrees. So far, I'm still tight in the die. Not too fast. Okay, dry pin engaged again. Everything's still looking tight. Let's keep going. We're going to 180 degrees plus a little bit more. So we're making a 180 bend. All right, we're at about 135. I'm going to attempt to stop it. Again, I like that it's feet free here. There we go. Gotta get the pin all the way in, so. Now we're all the way in. Still tight in the die, so I'm doing better than I had up to this point. Let's continue. We're at 170 and we're still, oh, she just popped out right then. So we got to fix that. You saw it live right here. That's my problem. I've been good up to that point. I can't have that springing back like that. So let's see if we can get it back in. Okay, we're back tight in the die. If I can get another 15 degrees out of it, it's successful. If I didn't just notice that pop out, I would have wasted another piece of tubing. It shouldn't do that, but I guess it is what it is. So let's keep going. I just saw it move out of the die. Yep. Back tight again. So that's 180, but we're going to have some spring back, so not wanting it to relax out of the die, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, go a little more. You got to watch your hands here, but nothing moves that fast. That's like 184. And with spring back, I could actually go a little more, but once again, I popped out of the die. So, put it back in. Let's go a little more. It's 185. I'm gonna call that good. Whoop. So now this can return all the way. But, I mean, this wants to pop out. And this won't be an issue until you get close to 180 degrees. But now, everything else is still tight. Now we need it to pop out. Typically, if you whack it, you can get one of them out. There we go. Now we're loose. We can just get everything out of the way. I'll set this over here. Pull the clamp out. Wait, my bolt's still tight. Bolt is still doing his job. And now she's out, and that's a nice bend. So I guess if I'm careful and don't let it pop out of the die, again, I'm a rookie. And yeah, obviously my 4 inches was not enough, but I actually only wanted that much of a drive shaft loop. So that is an actual beautiful bend. I'm going to call this a win. It's my first nice 180 degree 3-inch centerline radius that makes a 6-inch drive shaft loop. All right, we did some good work. All right, so that 4-inch dimension that I stuck it out of the clamp, I remembered from this one. So I actually did make a duplicate of the last one I did. And now knowing that where the center was, I can probably figure out how to mark the die so I'd know next time. But typically, that would not be a concern. You'd know what size leg you wanted on this side, and you're going to have a whole length of tubing. So that is not the important takeaway here. The important takeaway is I just made my first perfect 180 degree bend. So I didn't do anything different than I did on this one, because this one I was cognizant of the fact that it kept popping out of the die, and I kept putting it back in. I still got a funny bend. So I'm thinking that the boys at JMR, obviously they've been building benders for 30 years. They looked at my setup and said, I need a new follower die, and boom, there it is. So I will report back to them, which I haven't yet because this just happened today, Monday. And yeah, that's exciting because I was kind of sad that I was building ugly stuff. And you know that would bother me. So now I can duplicate. Well, here's the funny part. I think I paid $40 for this 1-inch chrome moly pre-bent. Not quite perfect. Again, mine, well, I guess they're about the same. So I estimate my cost savings between these two is probably 50 cents. And then I calculate in the bender and everything else, and well, I'm in the hole, you know, $1,600. But I made a nice bend, so life is good. You gotta laugh, you know what I mean? All right, so thanks for following along. This video probably got a little longer than anticipated. That'll happen. And I'm sorry if the bender was loud when I was running it, but hey, some people like to see live action. And when I was excited and holding it up, I know you couldn't see it because you were looking at my waist, but either way, that's a day right there. Talk to you later.